Africa in Kampala, Uganda, and we are live in Munyonyo Resort. I'm called Magundu. We are host on Foundation Africa program, and here with me today in the program I'm having a member of parliament from Ghana and a member of parliament from Malawi, and I want to put the hands together to welcome them in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Today we are going to discuss African history in terms of development, in terms of the theme, Pan-African theme, and where we are heading to. Having a privilege to have a member of parliament from Ghana, we expect much more on the history of Mpambe and Kuruma and big history on Pan-African and African Union. Then having somebody from Malawi, we expect much more detail. Can you see that? Yeah, especially on such kind of great Pan-Africans. And here with me, let us start the program. I will start with you. With considering the history of Africa, 1915 Ghana, we see Mpambe Nkrumah going outside, struggling for Africa's independence, having a big theme and a very big vision for Africa. See the likes of people putting down the theme of Africa for Africa and even start organization for African Union. So, what is your take on the history of Africa and the current situation?
Well, I would say good morning to the US and then also thank you for having me. I'm in Uganda for the first time.
You are in Uganda for the first time? You are a great
enjoy my stay, though it is not too long. I think your question is a very profound one. I believe we all had high expectations. I mean, our forefathers.
Actually, before you go for the question, you have to introduce yourself to the viewers so that they can know who is talking to them.
Okay, my name is Dr. Abdullah Chumiyama.
You know, those names in Nigeria is like
so you can say Pabena. That's my first name.
Okay.
I'm a Tuesday born in Ghana. When you are a Tuesday born, you are a boy. Call him Pabena.
That is bad.
I'm a member of parliament in Ghana. I'm a public health physician by profession. So it's like a dual role. And I would say I'm really happy to be a part of this party conference. And I will say that we're well happy as a people when we had our independence at various stages. As we started with Ghana, and then it spread to almost all the other places. And I believe that every era comes with its own challenges. When we had independence, I think at that stage, a lot of the focus was how to liberate almost all the African countries that we can now be the masters of our own destiny. But I think over the years, a lot has happened. We may not say everything has been positive, but we should also not be too despondent by throwing our hands in the air and say that we've never done anything. I believe we have achieved a bit, even though it may not be up to the level we were expecting. The onus will now be on us, the young people of Africa, to try and move the gear to a higher one so that we can fast track development in Africa. We should all realize that nobody will develop our continent for us. We will have to work it the way we want it. And I believe now we all know that we need to get the best. Because of technology, we can appreciate whatever goes on everywhere in the world. And I believe Africans too deserve the best. And it is us, the young people, who have to take our destiny into our hands and do what we need to do. We should be very aggressive.
Thank you very much. We have a little time. I'm going to be posing questions. We'll talk about it and we'll take another one. So if I may go to honorable member from Malawi, introduce yourself and tell the people the history of, according to you, history of Pan-Africans, Malawi, and today, how do you get the two things? Two parts.
Yeah, I think in introduction, my name is Honorable Victor Toson. I'm a member parliament from Malawi, and this is actually my second visit to Uganda. I was here in 2014, and I'm back here. And actually, I would say, coming from Malawi and reading about Africa in general, I think Africa has come from being the power of drive into leadership and being independent. To me, as a young Malawian, I'm looking at Africa that was on a rise, and unfortunately it started coming down. So we had the very first groups of leaders in Africa that were so energetic and passionate about Africa. That's why we ended up having independence in Africa. And Africans started to enjoy the fruits of the very same independence. But at one point, something possibly went wrong.
Why do you think it went wrong?
I don't know. There are times I feel, is it democracy? Did we interpret democracy wrongly? To me, there are times I ask myself like that as a young politician. Or is it that...
I think it is not democracy. Because in Africa, before whites were here, we had the kingship kind of rule. And when you visit the history, go to Zimbabwe, you see the preferably history of the Queen of Sheba have built something, a very strong wall. Like we were developing, we had development. If you go to the old days of Timbuktu, you can see that Africa, you had the largest city, bigger than England and Ireland. So, do you want to tell me democracy is the one that disappeared?
Possibly the way we interpreted it and the way how our attitude started to change, the passionate for Africa started to change after the rising, coming up with democracy. Because everybody came to a point feeling like we were being oppressed. We needed change. And possibly that change showed up. And then we interpreted it very wrongly. Look at corruption the way it has engulfed Africa today.
That's the number one disease.
Yeah, that's if we had to look at malaria of governance nowadays, it's corruption. And Africa is struggling to move. We have resources. Look at the few countries that have beautiful natural resources, worth billions of dollars. They're fighting. That's what has changed Africa. So to me, I'm not saying democracy has done it, but the way we have interpreted, the way we've changed our attitudes towards the way Africa is going to move. Because we had leaders that had the same Africa movement, as we've already said, and Africa was moving. You'd see development. You'd see what our first black leaders did. And if they were to wake up today and see what Africa has turned itself into, I think they would be worried. But you know, one positive thing is what my brother from Ghana said. It's now in our hands, and we're able to see this. We're able to do a post-mortem of where this Africa has come from, where we are today, and what do we want Africa
Have
to
we
be.
made enough research to be sure that it is in our hands?
We need more evidence to research.
Because I might give you an evidence of, most especially our age. We think we are to be in charge of Africa. Because I still believe Africa is still on an ideology of coming from us. And our fathers now, because I call it coming from us, our grandfathers, our fathers now have not implemented the ideology expected. And here we come, I call it the third generation. Here we come, we think we can do it. Have we done enough research to think about that? Really, what has failed our fathers can fail us?
I think it can actually fail us. And research, I wouldn't doubt that. That's why technology has come to our disposal. For us to use technology, do more research, and see what we can do better. But we need to have positive thinking as young Africans. We need to move forward with a positive heart. If we sit down and concentrate on what has failed our fathers or even our forefathers, we might fall in the same trap and be failures. But first and foremost, we need young people that are so energetic, young people that think positive of Africa, think positive and passionate of their countries, young people that will stand today and say, yes, we can do it. Yes, we can achieve this. And as a young politician myself, I think we need a group of young Africans that will stand and say the truth about Africa and be positive.
Okay, thank you very much. I will come to Honorable from Ghana. What do you think we need to do as young generation, the third generation? Put our own theme, our own line of development in Africa, build our ideology. We cannot do a different thing because we are a startup of the Africa. So how do we polish our ideology? Because I believe strongly that our systems of governance and economy are the ones running us high. So what do you think?
I personally think the issues are kind of for us. What is
Actually, for you have the democracy in Ghana. It's one of the countries in Africa where we believe democracy is doing that. I was speaking to the member of parliament of Zimbabwe yesterday. She was telling me about dictatorship in Africa being one of the problems. Yes, no, that she was referring to Ghana as the best economy according African country because of democracy. And we used to see Libya, it was not democratic, but was living higher in terms of economy. So what do you think is the problem for us as the young generation?
I think that's why I said, what is the essence of government? Government is supposed to better the lives of its citizens. Irrespective of the form of government you are practicing, there should be that mindset of making life better for the people. Once you have that drive, then the onus will be on you to devise strategies every day to make sure as the day moves on, you make life better for your people. If we have this mindset as a people, I'm sure we can easily come out with the right strategy. There should be no corruption. We must make efficient use of all the resources that we have in this continent, be it human, capital, natural. Everything should be used efficiently. We should not inflate contracts just because we want to make money. We must make sure whatever we do in this continent, the ultimate aim is to better the lives of our people. When we do this, we will make sure we build the right hospitals, we build the right road, our schools will be better, and our children will now get better education, better health care, and people will get jobs to do. When we are able to do this, I'm sure we can move faster and even move faster than what the so-called Asian tigers did. Most of them had independence around the same time Africa had independence. But because of the issues of corruption, most of them, they were also not democratic. If you go to Singapore, you go to South Korea, most of them they were in power for more than 30, 40 years. But after that period, their lives have transformed. Our forefathers, a lot of them were in power for a long time. What were the results? So it's not really about whether you are democratic, you are a dictator. The matter is for you to have the passion and the drive to better the loss of your people. If you don't want to satisfy your clothing, you siphon money to other places. You hear that people have taken money to Switzerland and stuff like that. You hear some of these stories about people from Southeast Asia. We are talking about Libya. We all knew Gaddafi was not a Democrat.
Yes,
but
it wasn't.
People were moving from Southern Africa, they go to the desert, to Libya for jobs. A lot of the young people from my country did a lot of that because people thought life was better in Libya than some of us who had democracy. So I think even though democracy allows you to harness your resources, it is not automatic. You may have a democratic culture. If the people do not use it profitably, you cannot improve the lives of your people. Democracy is good, but when you get democracy, use democracy better to improve the loss of your people. I'm sure we do that within the next 10 to 15 years. Africa will transform. There are a lot of resources in Africa. We must
I've always put the question in my mind, asking myself, what did Libya do to reach at the level it was when there was no democracy, when every human being there was catered for by government, and other countries did not do? What is that? What do you think is it? Because we consider Libya in the categories, almost the categories of Singapore, because we are the same line, by the 1960s. We were all the same line, poverty line. So, what did these countries do that we have not done to reach a certain level?
As I said earlier, I believe no matter the form of government you practice, your ultimate objective should be to improve the life of the people. So if you have democracy, and democracy is explained as allowing people to have the chance to siphon money, you come back and you realize you've done nothing. If you're a dictator and the person, is thinking properly and he wants to improve the life of people, by the personally, every human wants to have some freedoms and liberties. You realize even upon all the so-called development people in Libya had, a time happened they also wanted to be free as you and I are free, even though maybe we say we were hungrier than them. So I think we have to combine the two. We must have our democracy, but democracy is not the end. It's a means to an end. And the end is to improve our life economically. Once we have the democracy, people must express themselves properly. We must learn, we should educate ourselves, and we should work assiduously to improve the lives of the downtrodden. So I believe Libya were lucky. They had huge, stocks of oil. At that time, it was really expensive. They were selling. Not every country has that, a chance. We may say we all have our natural resources, but some of them are more expensive than others. So you cannot compare the two at the same time. You can also compare other countries that have oil, but still things are not as better as you can talk about Libya. But I still believe that the bottom line is the commitment from the powers that be determined to better the lot of the people from the one. Once they take the right step, the people will follow them. And I believe every citizen in Africa wants to have a better life for himself, for herself, for his or her family, and their community. We all want to get the best in life.
Thank you very much. This is TV Africa here in Kampala, Uganda, and we are live in Minyonyo Resort Hotel. Your host is Magundu, and here in the program with me is the Member of Parliament from Ghana and the Member of Parliament from Malawi. We are discussing issues concerning Africa, the foundation of Africa, and where we are heading to. I would like to pose a question to the Member of Parliament of Malawi. We have had common programs like AU, African Union, it is European Union. We have had SADA, we have East Africa, we have those through ECOWAS. I was reading West Africa shape and you read something which really disturbed me. You have a bank controlled by France. The monetary fund there is controlled by France. Treasury. France is on top, African leaders are eating. So, don't you think that has been another measurement that has failed Africa? As Africa, we need a common European dollar, fund. We need a dollar for Africa to improve on our economy. What is the need of African Union? What is the essence of ECOWAS? What is the essence of East Africa? They seem to be controlled by the Europeans, and because of that, we are not doing anything good at all.
Yeah, well, I think that was a very good observation you had. And much as I share your views, also you have to know that in every movement there should be a foundation. And how do you say the foundation is bad? The whole ideology, the whole concept of coming up with blocks in Africa where economic ideas can be shared, where political solutions can be made, has been a great movement in Africa. And to me, I think to some extent, it has helped Africa to move. And then coming together to the whole African Union, it's also a movement that is well supported. But now going back to who is supposed to control what? I think there's a belief for Africa for Africans.
Yeah, African.
And you know, that's why I believe the generation now needs to start moving with ideology.
So I think I
Yeah, the generation now needs to move the ideology. It has been an ideology that has been there for a very long time. If you hear the people that started to fight for Africa, they've talked about this. And as I've already said, at one point there was no movement. And that's when we started to think we couldn't do it on our own. That's why we started to look at ourselves and we cannot do it. That's why every doctor by then started to come from Europe. Everybody came from Europe to work for us. Because ourselves we thought we cannot do it. But the generation today, we have every professor who is African. Every doctor African. Young doctors that are African. Young scientists that are African. So the West is there for us to learn from. We have learned from them. I think time has come for us young people to move this ideology. How do we move it? Let's stamp out corruption, number one, you know, and let's get ourselves focused on one goal. So we need to believe in whatever we are able to do. We need to believe in the leadership that we can create, a leadership that can move our people from where they are today. Because you see, Africa, the gap between the rich and the poor is just too huge. You live in Africa, you are African, but the times you go to a village, you almost cry. Why are people supposed to live like this? Where someone in the city has disposable money that they cannot use? Why is it that? So by then it was to be Europe and Africa, but now it's Africa itself. So what that means, there's some life of selfishness in us as Africans. We are failing to share what we have. Students are struggling to go into schools, but there are people that have lots of money to pay for students to go into schools. They're not doing that. Our forefathers were bringing this unity so that Africa could share ideas, share political life, so that wherever we are able to improve the lives of the people that depend on us. But, you know, there's just so many things that need to be done. Attitude change. You know, there's ideology of laziness in some of us. You know, it's another disease that we have. We don't believe in that we can't do it. So that belief, even if you get a master's degree, a PhD, you still trust that you cannot do it. Then why did you get educated? So we need to come up out of that.
You're bringing me to a very nice diversion of discussion about the issue of education. And I believe strongly that education in Africa is one of the methods that has been used to purely clean our history and clean our development strategy. We only feed on theoretic education in Africa. We do not have practical education in Africa. And when we got independence, that kind of half independence, because I still believe we are not independent, because we are not managing ourselves. Because you still have Coca-Cola here, you still have everything, you have they are not our companies, they are white European companies.
And they are not contributing much.
They are not contributing much. We have banks here, you have Barclays Bank, Iconic. The only role is to just Africa and get back to England. We have not done enough on education. And I believe education is a little too. When we have failed to come up with our own laptops, our own cars, our own made things in Africa. So, as a member of parliament, have discussion. When you are sitting in your countries, have you ever thought about our education in Africa? Have a positive view.
Well,
education.
You might have a point, but you see, the world is evolving. We even alluded to earlier that we cannot reinvent the wheel. The stages in which we find ourselves now, others are going through. And I think the best we need to do is to sit down and ask how did those people. It is true. Initially, we used to hammer more on these humanities because people were just being trained to serve as class here and there. I mean, that was just before the independence. When we took over, it's like we virtually made the same strategy most of them.
We took over and started managing the programs of the Europeans, not
That's
our
the
own
point.
programs.
So I think, as he said, virtually almost all the critical areas that will assist development, we have our own people being able to master them. So I think now the most important ingredient is for us to change our attitude and have the belief that we are capable of transforming our situation. When we do that, there's this tension. Sometimes people always feel that you can make it in Africa. So the person even completes his education, he thinks unless he moves out of Africa, he can't make it. You won't even have the patience to start gradually moving. But we have people who have, against all odds, they've made it in Africa. So I believe we can just tweak our educational system a little. It will not be that bad, because now almost every area we've emphasized a lot on science and technology. We are encouraging our women to also aspire to higher levels like the guys can. So I believe the most important thing we need now is our attitude. We need to have the confidence that it is capable, that Africa too can make it. We always feel that there's something in here that is drawing us back. But it is about us.
Okay,
we have the people, we have the mindset, led by the right leadership. I mean, the most important, what is killing Africa seriously now is corruption.
Yes.
We are wasting our resources to check every year. And you see, when you talk about corruption, people always look at the topmost
in our family
in the country. Everywhere from wherever you are, family head, church leader, school head, wherever. Let us all rededicate ourselves that we want to do the right thing to make sure we better the lot of anybody who is below us. When we have this determination, I'm sure within a year or two you will see a complete transformation of the way we do our things. Now people think, oh, this guy is chopping, let me also chop. Meanwhile, he may not be chopping, but it's your mindset. We need to have this dedication. Nobody, the white man, the European want Africa to continue to be consumers of their products. So they will not be happy for us to transform people, then we will now be producing and be competing with them. So we don't expect that they will come and give us strategies that will help us to compete with them. It is up to us to always analyze whatever we get from them to get the best out of them. Sometimes some of us, our leaders, they go there cup in hand. It's as if they can't think for themselves. Whatever is given to them, they swallow it hook, line, and sinker, and then you implement it. You realize that you have cultural differences, you have different attitudes, so you can't just transpose something that was successful in Europe into Africa and expect that it will get the same result. We need to always try.
On the same, I think the other thing is how Africa, we believe that we cannot do ourselves without being given aid. Aid has killed Africa. We keep getting aid.
Aid makes us feel dormant.
Yeah, someone was telling me the budgets we make here in Africa, if we take the very same money from my country and give it to someone to use it for us, it will even be too much. But because we believe that the money we have is not enough, and we make a budget times 7 what we can afford, and then we fail to balance up the books, and then we apply for aid, and the aid comes with a prescription. It's only, I'm told, I haven't been to Rwanda, I'm told it's only in Rwanda where they have prescribed what they want. And then when aid comes, they attach to what they have prescribed. But a lot of African countries, we receive, and the programs are already there.
Actually, Rwanda, I think it is only Rwanda in Africa that seems to be following what we are discussing. Because corruption is not high.
Yeah, I'm told it's very low.
All they do, they know their problem, they know how they kill themselves. And by the way, in Rwanda, you talk about genocide. Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
If you talk about it, you can be arrested.
And now, even nowadays, I'm told they don't even call themselves Tutsis, whosoever. They stopped it that long time ago.
We we are Rwandese, so they don't talk about
Everybody says I'm a Rwandese.
Yes, and we need to really use examples. And that's where now it hits the logic of issues of democracy. Now, at this time, France says that when you're going to go back to another camp, the man is not yet finished with the mission of stabilizing Rwanda. It has just begun. It cannot just leave it that way. I believe if he's given another 5 years, then it will stabilize the needs that whatever. So that's why I put the question of whichever type of system of government take to Africa. I believe these other systems are here to minimize our development goals. I have a question on innovation in Africa. We seem to have every technology all our heads. Because if you go to these inventors and you read the list of them, most of them are black Africans. They are taken to Europe and they have done most of the things. Last week in Uganda, there is a young boy of almost 10 years. Guess what he did? I'm still wondering whether he's the one who did it. I'm still asking myself, what changed his mind to do such kind of a thing? You've seen these machines for the road making. This one that leads the train. It does lead the train. The young man came up, I don't know whether he went to that machine. I have a clip here, we'll show it after the program. He came up with that great. He has his thing, he has a thing, the thing just, it's like a small thing of the size of, just small like this, but in the shape of that great. It fits right with his plastic bottle, it powers, so the other thing. Complete technology about the other big machine. Another one has a self-powered charger. Self-powered charger. You don't need to put anything on electricity. You don't need, all you need is to fix your charger in what? In the machine and you charge. It is self-charge. Right? Why has government failed to take up that kind of innovation? What's wrong with our government? Because I believe if that kid is maybe taken to the field of great guy, he can get more knowledge than even somebody who knows that machine. So what do you think? Why have we failed our government?
Possibly that has been our big problem. You know, we've got so many brains in Africa, so many inventors, innovative minds in Africa. And you know, a 10-year-old boy you were talking about, he's going to go through high school, primary school, high school. He's going to be studying geography. He's going to be studying Bible knowledge. He's going to be studying a language of their country. So that's what has killed us. You know, we have people that have invented things. The first windmill was invented in Malawi. And as soon as the guy invented it, he's in school in Europe right now. They picked him up, and there's a book about him. His name is Daniel Kunka. He's a young guy who invented a windmill. The first guy to invent a radio station, a community radio station in my village, in my constituency. He came from nowhere, set up his own tower, set up his own radio, and every time you're in the area you choose, you could tune to his radio. He says, I'm broadcasting from my house, my name is so if you can hear me, come by and give me feedback. I'm keeping it right. He's got his own radio. So we have people that have skills. That's why we need governments that will look at those type of things, develop them. So African technology.
To some extent, I think maybe these presidents of ours are told we don't fund those things. Because the technology is there, people are there. Why are they not taking their money? What do you think is the problem?
Sometimes I think we also emphasize too much on government in Africa. It's like we think our whole life depends on government. That is also where I'm not saying this downgrades the importance of government, but I believe there are certain instances that we ourselves must also see the need to actually empower ourselves to achieve something. There are a lot of instances where people privately, build themselves to a level where we now see as a success for people. look at the story of Steve Jobs. We all know how he struggled. I don't think he had any serious governmental support around the line. We still have a lot of oil. We may not expect.
And the two are making the economies for their countries. Not BBC or Facebook.
Yes, so I think there are times that it may not be government per se. Other individuals in an area, you see such a thing. You can even decide that, well, let me help this boy. You may have some resources. You can even guide the boy as to the type of school you should attend, the type of course you should do it to be able to, improve upon this knowledge. This may be raw, natural talent that he has inherited from God, but he needs to harness it, build upon it by learning the theories behind some of these, and then he can be able to do more. But there are times you always want to follow the status quo. Everybody goes to school, he wants to be this, he wants to be that. I want my son, my daughter to be this, doing without even looking at the talent that this person possesses. There are times we actually kill the talent of our kids by the way we impose other programs on them and they do. Some of these things are all things that you cannot really expect a government to talk about immediately. We ourselves, we should be able to, understand that every individual is made by God. You may have some innate talents in you that people need to assist to handle. That's why my brother said earlier that if you have money, try and support people around you. A lot of us are so selfish. You can't do much. I mean, we haven't arrived yet. We have similar problems in Ghana. A lot of rich people in Africa, they don't have foundations, they don't have these, they don't even support their community. But you travel outside, most of these universities, they have scholarships which are sponsored by rich individuals. You go to Africa, almost every scholarship, people are looking up to the government to sponsor. But we have very rich people in Africa. They should all support. So he emphasized a lot of the things on government.
Rich people in Africa are not in Africa.
They're not. I think some
I don't want to conclude.
For me, some are, but majority are not.
The majority are not.
You see in a community where rich people live, students are sent out of university for not paying. And there's this rich person at home with money they cannot count. Why are you keeping that money? Because one time will come, you die. You leave all this money for nothing. You haven't done anything. But these people are in churches every day. That's the thing for Africa. We believe we can go to church every single day and pray to God, and miracles can happen to us. But we don't want to support each other. That's why people believe if you have an idea, don't share it with an African. Why? Because they'll either sit on it, or they'll either take it up and claim it's their own innovation. So everybody, it's a bad thinking, but that's why people say this is Africa. It's because of that attitude. We need to change our attitudes. The belief that the government needs to do everything. Who gave us that belief? It's our own belief. We put up a government ourselves. We vote for a leadership. And now we sit home lazily, waiting for the leadership to give us food. Oh, come on. Then we are giving him too much work.
Sometimes somebody says, we all get the government debt because we are always them there. I mean, most places we go.
What is my understanding? Is Libya, Gaddafi had everything it takes. The development was okay. People were earning from government. What happened? What happened? Are we not going for the same thing? We develop Malawi, which is at the stage, they come and destroy it. We have not had enough defense for our own continent, and as much as we can think of development, we need to think about future defense.
I think as development evolves, security is also part of development. So once you develop, you must protect what you have.
The man had already
And the other thing,
in Africa.
The other thing
was governed by superior forces, if I should say.
That's the thing.
It's always like that. That's why we have Africa Union, United Nations.
Do you think
try and protect the vulnerable. Sometimes we all know the difficult some of these bodies also have when certain countries are coming.
It is an invisible force fighting the environment of Africa.
There might be some, we cannot prove that. It
is
might
there.
be a hypothesis. You know,
There should be, because this is a competitive world for Christ's sake.
yeah.
So somebody is supposed to exploit you so that you always buy their product. It is up to you to make sure you go against that and also develop yourself. So we shouldn't think that people will be happy to see Africa rising, but we must make sure we also rise and compete.
Much as the development was there in Libya, everything was there, everything was rosy and good. The force might be there, but one thing you have to know, when we are in leadership, let's involve our people. Let's share whatever we are doing with the people. They should know how this government. This is a big problem.
I wouldn't see why Libya really fell into why the problem happened following in. They're going to have done everything they did.
But possibly didn't involve the people.
He did not involve the people.
He didn't tell them how much wealth the country had. So possibly that's why you create a scenario where that external force would find a loophole in your own country. But if everybody was involved in the style of leadership
So
and everything,
we have to manage our governance in a style, and we have to set our future and how we can run and fight some of the bad habits within us. In our last segment, there's a very itching, there is a very itching problem in us. Culture, agriculture. No, agriculture is culture. Agriculture is not is culture.
okay.
But we have had enough of culture recently, oil and culture. And as we are talking about the mindset, we are having GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Is it in Malawi?
Oh yes,
You have fasted GMO, you have it fasting. For them, they have fasted in Ghana.
Not yet.
Not yet, it is still.
Slowly.
And it is rotating all over Africa. We also have engaged, we haven't yet fasting in Uganda. But if you read deep into cancer, if you read deep into agriculture, you realize it is the only sector we are left with. Those minerals are owned by some people from out. Minerals are owned by Europeans. That is not actually ours. Those resources are not ours. Therefore, the point is what? Agriculture is the only sector where we can manage on a personal basis, on the local basis, on the poor people. But also agriculture is very faulty. I can give an example of banana in Uganda. We have got banana with disease. It is finishing all the bananas. And guess what? We have introduced a plant, a banana plant, which is a razor for the resistant banana with disease. So, meaning we are going to start buying banana plantings to do agriculture. They have introduced the white, whatever, chicken for looking at those white okay. They have introduced the white, black and white color, and all our local things are disappearing. So, as you are countries, do you have any strategy to preserve our culture and agriculture?
It is another disease that Africa is faced right now. But no, I think coming from the background of why all these things come into place, the issue of drought in Africa, the issue of hunger in Africa, the issue of climate change in Africa. So all these scenarios have opened up a big gap, a big loophole for every other technology to be tried. If we cannot produce enough food for our people, what do we need? We go GMO. Why?
Is GMO safe?
It's not at all.
It's not safe.
It's not at all.
For GMO when it is not safe.
But it has come to a point where everybody wants to feed their people. So because of that scenario, we say we need crops that are resistant to drought. Same as bananas. They have been wiped out in our country because of a disease. You know, there's this disease. Who knows? We are told after 5 years we can now start get seedlings of bananas from someone else. This is definitely GMO.
What is providing seedlings of bananas? Suppose he switches off, what happens?
That's the problem. But what I'm trying to tell you, we have created a scenario for ourselves. We haven't managed our own environment. Because Africa are not on top of affecting the environment. There are countries that are well industrialized that have affected the change of climate. And Africa is suffering the effects of that. And as we are suffering the effects of that, we have done 2 years with no rain. No food at all. So someone comes up with corn that is GMO, who can say no. When you're not eating, you see whatever is food. And you eat that. So that's the problem that is here with us.
That is dangerous.
I really side with him. I think because of the desperation that sometimes we find ourselves, we become too gullible and eventually accept whatever is proposed to us without really looking at the effects of using some of these things. So I think this is where our scientists, our researchers in Africa, young Africans, should stand up to be counted. Some of these things, we are used to them. What prevents some of our scientists in Africa from also coming out with, modified, strains that are better suited to withstand some of these harsh conditions, so that we will be better prepared. We don't even need to accept these things that come up. But it's like we are desperate, we are helpless, we don't have anything. So somebody comes to you that, oh, this can help you solve your food shortage problem. You will try it. Sometimes initially it may look better. So you will think, oh, this is meanwhile they have their own strategy behind. After a while you become hooked up to it, and then you are more or less enslaved by them. And then once they realize that you now are hooked up to it, they start dictating and then more or less exploiting. It's like a blackmail. We do not have to allow this to happen. Our scientists must go to work. They must continue to think and evolve more, newer strains of whatever we have. We know banana is something that is really good for us. What prevents the scientists in Africa, Uganda for that matter, work assiduously to get better, strains, so that whatever the situation arises, we will be well prepared. But it's like sometimes we allow nature to have this course too much. We think things will just be the way they are. But hey, like you say, climate is changing. If we don't change, we will be consumed. And these guys continue to think, and they always want to exploit us. So they won't bring you any free lunch without conditions attached to it. So you see them, you take them, you are happy. But there are conditions beneath. And when it is open up to you, whether that your hands are tied, you can't say no. That is where GMO comes in. I think we should be masters of our destiny. We should control our crops. We should control our resources. And we must make sure we take the right decisions all the time that will support us. We shouldn't expect somebody somewhere to be so considerate that you even think better of ourselves more than we ourselves. It will never happen.
And mind you, the people that are doing all this are in business. The people that are inventing all these GMO seeds, they are in big business and they are looking for market. Profits. And where do they get that market? Africa.
We are so vulnerable.
We are very vulnerable.
We are correction center for garbage.
It's business.
They are looking for market.
This is where the market
and we are the ones who are ready to buy, so they will come to us.
Who has polluted the environment?
Not Africa.
Even if you're going to pass, you should be able to use the right mechanisms to make sure only the right things are accepted. Because if you leave it open like that, people will just exploit it. There should be checks and balances.
Let our scientists come out of teaching every day and go into the lab and start to invest things.
For example, we have a master agent bill in Uganda. But I haven't yet. We have some crops that are GMO.
Oh, you
So how are they
And
handling
that
it?
is why you need the law, so that it can be able to prosecute those who go against the law. If you don't have any law, how do you prosecute somebody? You can't even say that a person has committed any crime. There should be a law, but the law should be a law that will inure to the benefit of the people.
Okay, thank you very much. It has been a very great discussion, and this is TV Africa in Kampala, Uganda. We are Foundation Africa, and it's been very great. I had a member of parliament from Uganda and a member of parliament from Malawi. It's been very nice, a grateful program, and I would give them a chance to say their concluding remarks, to say hello to Ugandans, to say hello to the Malawians, Ghanaians, and they are concluding remarks on how the future Africa, what is their view on Africa of 50 years to come. I will start with member of parliament from Malawi.
Thank you very much for having me. I think in conclusion, this is what I would like to say. I think we've reached at a turning point for Africa. As young people, as young leaders, let's turn this continent, and we can. We have to do it. We shouldn't look at ourselves as failures. We shouldn't look at ourselves as people who cannot do it. We shouldn't trust that someone else will take care of our life more than the way we will take care of our life. We are the destiny for this continent, and we can do it. And every time our dream should be, we can do it. And together we can do it. Let's support those ideologies. Together we can do it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I would say I'm really happy to be here. I will only say this to the youth of Africa. There's no place like Africa.
Yes.
Africa is the only thing we have. We must be ready to sacrifice, to work, to better the lot of Africa. We should say no to despondency. We should say no to not having confidence. Africa can do it. Africa will do it. And I will say Africa must do it. Thank you very much.
That has been a very great discussion. I think you have gotten enough in this program. And I believe any youth, any elder, and everyone who's watching TV Africa, let you learn enough from these programs. This is Foundation Africa. The program is not called Foundation Africa because it is Foundation Africa. There is a reason why it is Foundation Africa. We talk the foundation of Africa, bring out the reality, and set the future. And I believe with this program you have got enough to learn. And I remain Magundu, your host. Bye-bye.